Okay, we're back here at Whistler's Rise, and we just left where Jennings and the 26th Pennsylvania militia had just been ordered after hearing about overwhelming Confederate forces to begin to retreat. Some of the men that were in the 26th Pennsylvania emergency militia retreated this way, and at that very next intersection here on the left, it was a small dirt farm road. Today it's called the Belmont Road. They made a left and head northward. The 21st Pennsylvania Cavalry, who stayed back and engaged for a brief period these oncoming 35th Virginia troops, eventually would fall back. Now, 36 of them were captured, as I said in a previous video, and they were held at the Lot Farm. The 21st Pennsylvania Cavalry retreated back in this way, and they went to the town of Gettysburg. We'll pick up on our next series, the next part rather, with the retreat of the 26th Pennsylvania Emergency Militia heading northbound now on Belmont Road. This has been Part 5 of the Unknown Battle of Gettysburg. Okay, this is Part 5A of the Unknown Battle of Gettysburg. And we're here again at Whistler's Rise. We're going to be looking at both the 26th Pennsylvania Emergency Militia heading northbound on the Belmont Road. But here we're going to talk about the 21st Pennsylvania Cavalry, Bell's Cavalry, who would retreat back toward the town, which is the direction that we're going to be going here in just a moment. As these Virginia cavalry soldiers chased these men, they headed in this direction along today what is 30 East back to the town of Gettysburg. Ironically, just 1 week later, divisions of Harry Heath's troops would follow these same roads into Gettysburg just after being fired upon by Lieutenant Marcellus Jones of the 8th Illinois Cavalry. They would follow here eastbound into Gettysburg, and the epic battle of Gettysburg of July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 1863 would begin up here in front of us at Hare's Ridge, and then of course on to Seminary Ridge and Cemetery Ridge, going through the town of Gettysburg. But back on June 26th, Bell's Cavalry, the 21st PA, with one of the soldiers who would be the first soldier killed at the Battle of Gettysburg, George Washington Sandeau, retreated in this direction. Now, they would retreat up here to the base of this hill known as Hare's Ridge, where they would get their first glimpse of the town of Gettysburg since leaving it earlier in the morning. Of course, they would be followed closely by an overwhelming Confederate force that would push them back. To our north, along the Goldenville Pike, the 26th Pennsylvania Emergency Militia, who had earlier in the morning also left the town of Gettysburg, including 56 students from Pennsylvania College, which today we of course know as Gettysburg College. This building here is Hare's Tavern here at Hare's Ridge. I did a video on the history of Hare's Tavern and the gentleman that owned it. Now, of course, the 21st Pennsylvania Cavalry, including George Washington Sandeau, would continue in this direction into the town of Gettysburg, through the Gettysburg Diamond, which we know today as the Circle or the Square. They would go east about 2 blocks, and then they would proceed on the Hanover Pike. Now, on the Hanover Pike, they would go about 1 mile until they got to the Rock Creek Bridge. And that we will continue on Part 6A, but this has been Part 5A of the Unknown Battle of Gettysburg on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Now, the 26th Pennsylvania Emergency Militia headed northbound here on what is today Belmont Road. This direction is heading toward the Mummersburg Road. Jennings intended to head to the Gettysburg Railroad station once he got to the Mummersburg Road. And then he would go from there and he would follow the train tracks northbound to Harrisburg, so he could then warn those in Harrisburg that rebels were in Gettysburg. So that was the plan. As Jennings and the men headed up the northbound here on the Belmont Road, their intention was to cut over to the Mummersburg Road, then down into the town of Gettysburg to the railroad station, where then they could catch the railroad tracks that went to Harrisburg, follow those tracks, go to Harrisburg, and warn people of rebels here in Adams County. However, that never happened. As Jennings got to the Mummersburg Road, those men from Elijah White, who had took the Hilltown Road, which we looked at in part 2, had cut them off on their flank, and they were forced, the 26th was forced to continue northbound on what is today Belmont Road, and they would then make a right on Goldenville Road near the Russell Tavern. This has been part 6 of the Unknown Battle of Gettysburg on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Okay, this is part 6A of the Unknown Battle of Gettysburg, and we're here near Reynolds Avenue, the famous railroad cut, charge of the 6th Wisconsin video we did, and of course up here, General Lee's headquarters. But a week previous to that, or a couple days previous to that, on June the 26th, 1863, Bell's Cavalry would retreat as they were being chased by the 35th Virginia Cavalry into this direction, into the town of Gettysburg. They would pass here what we know today as Seminary Ridge, which was the home of the Lutheran Theological Seminary, also passing by the Carrie Sheed's house, which would factor in to the Battle of Gettysburg on July 1st, 1863. You'll have to pardon me as we continue this driving tour here of the retreat of June the 26th, 1863. Of course, driving, I need to obey any red lights, so you'll have to pardon me if we come to a standstill. Now, at this time, just as a side note, this monument here on the right-hand side is the monument for the 26th Pennsylvania Emergency Militia. Showing the soldier leaving the town of Gettysburg on the morning of July 26, 1863, out to Marsh Creek to meet the enemy. Over here in this area is where John Burns' house was, and now we're heading into Gettysburg, and we're just a block or two away from the town Diamond. In 1863 it was called the Diamond. In a later video, we're going to see here where General Early would reform his troops here in the Diamond, drag prisoners that he had captured here into the Diamond, embarrass them publicly, loot the buildings, make demands upon the town for requisitioning supplies. That will be in a later video here on the Unknown Battle of Gettysburg. But here, as we approach the flag, and also General Early would cut down the wooden flagpole that was in the center of the Diamond here as his troops looted the town. But here, the 21st Pennsylvania Cavalry entering the Diamond would retreat eastward by later, which we would know as the David Wills house, where Abraham Lincoln would spend the night in November of 1863 and deliver his immortal Gettysburg Address. George Washington, Sandeau, and William Lightner, who were friends, were in the same company of the 21st Pennsylvania Cavalry, and they would be in this retreat as well. George Washington Sandeau being the first soldier who would be killed later this very day. Now, as they passed through the Diamond and they got to this area up here, the road would veer off to the left. However, they would continue forward on the Hanover Pike. And now, as we pass this light, we are now on the Hanover Pike. And this is where the 35th Virginia basically caught up and was hot on their tail. And at this point, Colonel Jennings, just up here at the Rock Creek covered bridge, which covered the Rock Creek at the time, quickly halted his men and then made an announcement to them that every man was on his own. And he suggested that they get back into their homes as soon as possible and away from the fighting. Everything had become a stalemate. They had been totally whipped back. And up here where we're crossing this very bridge, once stood a covered bridge that covered Rock Creek. And this is where he disbanded his troops and told them to get back to their homes in the town. This has been part 6A of the Unknown Battle of Gettysburg on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook.